The journey today starts outside the Chris Eggle Visitor Center here at Organ Pipe, which is currently closed because I'm here before it opens early. Howdy there, folks. My name's Glenn, and I'm your host on the almost world famous Cactus Atlas, and today I'm going to be taking you on a scenic drive through Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, the Ajo Mountain Drive. If you're looking for Ajo Mountain Drive, if you can find the visitor center, which I hope you can, it's right across the street. You see that gate over there. They encourage you to set your mileage, your trip odometer to 0 at the gate, which I did, and Slim's already anxiously awaiting us on the other side. So let's go unpack what this is all about. You can see they do have a vehicle limit, and it is a fee area. You're in a national monument, so head over to the visitor center across the street, show them your national parks pass, and you're good to go. Or pay for an entrance fee. One or the other. Here's about all you need to know. We're going to take a 21-mile loop drive through the Sonoran Desert, and we will consult this guide along the way for information. And I'm going to narrate for you out of this guide. Remember to set your trip tick, your trip meter to 0 when you get to the gate, so you know when to expect the stops along the drive. Ready, Slim?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, the heart of the Sonoran Desert. This desert covers 110,000 square miles, or 280,000 square kilometers, an area about the size of the state of New Mexico. The Sonoran Desert is the most diverse desert in North America, home to over 4,000 species of plants and animals. Why is this place so diverse? What makes this desert different from the Great Basin Desert to our north, Mojave to our west, or the Chihuahuan to our east? Many factors make the Sonoran Desert unique. Our winters are mostly frost-free, and there are 2 rainfall periods, one in the winter/spring and another in July and August. The high mountain ranges affect how much rain falls in an area, creating a diversity of habitats for specially adapted plants and animals to thrive. Everything seems to be related or connected to something else in complex ways. Based on plant evidence, scientists believe this is a young desert, only about 10,000 years old, with its ancestry in the tropics. Many of our perennial plants, cacti and other succulents, and animals such as lizards and snakes, migrated from the tropics or are descendants of tropical species. They prosper in brief summer storms that occur here. Annual plants, like many wildflowers, rely on the soaking winter rains that help make the Sonoran Desert so diverse. Many plants and animals in the Sonoran Desert have adapted to reproduce or grow after sufficient rainfall in winter or summer. Most animals that live here are either nocturnal or crepuscular, dusk or dawn active, to thwart the high daytime temperatures. These adaptations, along with many more, allow the Sonoran Desert life to thrive. Welcome to the Green Desert. As you travel down this road, we encourage you to travel slowly, pay attention to details, and discover some of these unique relationships for yourself. Okay, we are about 1.4 miles into the drive, and I have my first confirmation. I didn't know if there would be like official pull-offs that are numbered or something, or if you just need to make your own pull-off, and it appears it might be the latter, because I overshot it looking for a stop and I couldn't find one, but the subject matter is here in abundance. Can anybody guess what it is we're going to be talking about first? Anyone? If you thought or said creosote, you would be correct. Stop number 2, 1.4 miles in, the desert smells like rain. Decorating the landscape of the Sonoran Desert is the creosote bush. This olive green shrub you see all around you is one of the most drought-tolerant plants in North America. Long after the soil is too dry for most species, creosote still manages to absorb water. Its adaptations allow it to survive without water for 2 years before completely dying. This supple plant sports small yellow blossoms in spring and the summer. It may occasionally bloom during other times of the year if rainfall is sufficient. The seeds are gray fuzzy balls that resemble droplets of water hanging from the branches. The waxy coating on creosote's leaves protects the plant from excessive water loss. Locals often say that the Sonoran Desert smells like rain because of the intoxicating aroma the leaves give off during a rainstorm or on a foggy winter morning. Creosote is found abundantly all over the Southwest in 3 deserts, the Chihuahuan, Mojave, and Sonoran. It is also very long-lived, creating clonal colonies. One found in California is believed to be over 10,000 years old and is considered one of the oldest single living organisms on the planet. Creosote is useful to many desert species. The kangaroo rat likes to build its nest within the roots of the creosote bush. The seeds are a life source to many jackrabbits. The desert kit fox prefers to make its den within the roots of the creosote. Many cactus species use the creosote for shelter when the cactus is young and establishing its own root system. This unassuming shrub originated in South America, but it is clearly one of the most well-adapted plants found in the monument. The creosote has not only made its home in the heart of the Sonoran Desert, but in the hearts of many desert natives as well. So as a Arizonan that's lived in the desert for over 20 years, what do I think about creosote and what they were saying? Is it true? It absolutely is. After it rains, you know, a nice heavy summer rain, and you go outside, people say it smells like rain. I think it's more accurate to say it smells like creosote, not rain. But it's that right there that you're smelling. And if you want to test out the theory, one good way to do it, and it's safe, unless people have allergies to these things, is you could pluck off a little bit, like a little sprig of thyme, almost, think of it that way, and crush it up between your fingers so you can kind of get the smell going. And then from there, simply smell. And now you'll smell desert rain or creosote. So I didn't really know about the animals that like to live in creosote. See a bunch of holes here? I'm willing to bet that that is the den of kangaroo rat or rats. Just like they said, they like to live in the root system of these things. So, and now you're seeing some evidence of that. Quite a bit of evidence of that, actually. The last little tidbit of knowledge I'll leave you with, which I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard you can crush that up and rub it all over your skin, which I've done. I don't get a rash, or it's not caused me any problems at all. And it's supposed to repel gnats and insects, although I haven't had much success with that. I tried it, but maybe I didn't use enough. And we also timed it just right as you're seeing the yellow blossoms that they mentioned in the guide here on the creosote, as well as the little, I don't know, what do they say, seed pods? These little, it's one of the few things that doesn't prick you here in the desert. They said they look like water droplets, these little gray, fuzzy seeds. I can see it, I guess. As far as desert plants go, I would say that it's probably one of the most common things we see in Arizona is creosote, to be honest. You can just, right here in front of you, all that yellowish green coloration is all creosote. Now you see some ocotillo and saguaro mixed in there and other things, but primarily it's just endless seas of creosote. And now you know, it's a hardy little son of a gun. I did not know that they could live without water for 2 years, so that's one of my learnings for the day. See, I'm learning alongside with you here on this one. I know a little bit, but I don't know everything. All right, so our next stop is about 1.9 miles or 3.1 kilometers in, and that would be probably one of the most popular plants of the Sonoran Desert. Can anybody think about what it might be? I'm wondering if this area up here is where they want us to go, because I see a lot of our friends hanging out here, but I want to say we still have a ways to go if I'm following the rules and the directions they gave us. I wonder if this is the stop here. You could see like a little pull-off, and this would make sense. This is where the stop would be. Kind of surprised this isn't the most fantastic place to view our next subject, although there are some here for sure, and they look healthy. But let's go see what I'm talking about. All right, our next subject, if you haven't guessed already, are the saguaro cacti, something we talk about a lot on this show. A little surprised that they chose this little pull-off as the place to talk about saguaro. I mean, there are plenty within view, but there are other places that are much thicker than this with saguaro. So, but enough complaining. Let's get into the educational portion here of our program. Stop 3, 1.9 miles in or 3.1 kilometers, a Sonoran Desert icon. You would think that the saguaro cactus, which dominates the landscape, would be one of those well-adapted hardy desert species. It certainly is the tallest and the largest cactus in the United States, growing as high as 50 feet and weighing several tons. It can live to be 200 years old. In Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, we think that these cacti flower for the first time at approximately 65 years of age and might produce their first arms at around 90. Of course, there is no way to know exactly how old a saguaro is. It doesn't create growth rings like a tree. What we know comes from averaging data from hundreds of cacti all across the Sonoran Desert. Cacti living in washes or over by Tucson, where the water is more abundant, grow faster. Cacti growing in the valley flats, where water is scarce, can live their whole lives and never have the resources to support arm growth. A saguaro is entirely dependent on location and rainfall, as well as the ability of its shallow roots to suck up much of the rain as possible to store it in spongy flesh. Saguaros have adapted to the Sonoran Desert. They arrived in the region only 8,000 years ago, more recently than humans. Humans living here adapted their lives to include, even revere, the giant cactus. The Tohono O'odham have strong cultural ties to the saguaro. The first saguaro fruit harvest coincides with the Tohono O'odham New Year, when the summer monsoon rains fall on the parched desert floor. The O'odham use the woody ribs of the dead saguaros to create a tool called a kupit, enabling them to reach the fruit clustered at the tops of the arms and crowns of the cacti. Flowers appear in May and June when the desert is at its hottest and driest. The nectar is the only moisture in town, attracting important pollinators like birds and bats. The fruits ripen in July, time for many animals to eat the delicious red fruits and transport thousands of seeds to new homes. Once the seeds are spread and the monsoon rains start, those seeds have the chance to grow into new giant saguaro. Even with all the saguaro's adaptations to capture and conserve water, without the help of other species, it would not survive here at all. It needs animals to pollinate and spread the seeds, and the assistance of other plant species to shelter young seedlings during the first fragile years of their lives. Its appearance as the master of the desert is deceiving. As you travel along, what other plants dominate this habitat? All right, well there you have it, the saguaro, something we've talked about many times on this channel. And now we're about to go to our next stop, which is actually we get to drive for a little bit, almost 4 miles in, 3.9 miles in, where we'll look at another star of the show. And you could probably guess what that one is, I bet. So for now, we can just enjoy the scenic drive for a little bit. I'll get you a quick shot of the sign as we enter the loop. It says, warning, no service for 19 miles. Rough one-way road, maximum length 25 feet. Don't let it scare you. All right, as I was predicting, as we get closer anyway to these rocks and mountains, I'm starting to see all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just organ pipe cacti intermingled in with the saguaro all over the place. Do you see them? Do you know what they are? Have you heard of these things? Well, let's go talk about them a little bit and I'll give you your education. And this is a nice cluster of them here to do our discussion of the organ pipe cactus. What this whole park is named after. It's that thing right there, and let's talk about why it's special. This was to be mile 3.9, stop 4, but we're further than that. Our namesake cactus. Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument was established in 1937 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt and protects most of the natural habitat of the organ pipe cactus within the United States. While commonly found in the southern sections of the Sonoran Desert, these cacti are rare north of the US-Mexico border, but have adapted to life in the monument. Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument experiences only a few frosty nights a year, allowing the cacti to stay warm and flourish like their Mexican neighbors. Notice how these plants to your left are standing on the south-facing slopes with little vegetation near them. Organ pipe cacti crave the sun's heat and do not require nurse plants. At night, the rocks surrounding the plant release heat stored during the day, thus keeping the plants from freezing. In June and July, flowers and fruits cover the arm of these columnar cacti. The flowers only open at night, closing for good in the early morning light to keep water loss at a minimum. These lavender-tinged white flowers emit a strong fragrance to attract lesser long-nosed bats. Each summer, these bats migrate from Mexico to feast on flower nectar, and the pregnant females give birth and nurse their young. They congregate at Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, roosting within the monument's caves, buildings, and historical structures such as abandoned mines, rock shelters, and old ranch houses. As summer progresses, the mothers and their babies gorge themselves on cactus fruits and distribute the seeds across the desert, helping to ensure the survival of the organ pipe cactus. So what's so interesting about these other than that they look pretty cool? Well, the thing that the pamphlet mentioned is they're extremely rare north of the US-Mexico border. In fact, my understanding is this little small region of the US here in the very southern tip of Arizona is the only place in the United States where you're going to see these things living in their natural habitat. And you heard about how they're very particular about where they live and they don't like frost, and they're very susceptible to that. And you'll see these things in neighborhoods around Phoenix where they're not really meant to grow, and their arms get more segmented and strange, I think, as with each frost. It's something you'd have to see to understand. But yeah, so the organ pipe in its natural setting, and that's what makes organ pipe so special, other than the amazing freaking views. So if you head out to Phoenix on a vacation and you want to experience the Sonoran Desert, and you're expecting to see these guys up further north, you're going to remember this, right? You're going to say, why are there no organ pipes up here other than in people's landscaping? And now you know. In organ pipe, if you want to see these things, in my experience, now I haven't been, this is my first time on this Ajo Mountain Drive. I've now camped at Alamo Primitive Campground. I've camped at Twin Peaks Campground. I've hiked the main trail over by the visitor center where you get to see a lot of these. So there are good pockets where you get to see these things more up close in abundance. This area is not bad, but I've seen better in the park. So, but the views and the dirt roads and stuff like that you don't get elsewhere. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, but by no means am I knocking this area for organ pipe, because you get really awesome specimens here. If it were me and I were planning a vacation to come to Arizona, but I'm more interested in the Sonoran Desert than the northern parts like the Grand Canyon, and I'm trying to figure out how best to spend my time on my Sonoran Desert vacation, I might argue this might be the best place to go, because you get a better sampling of the succulents and in the normal plants also. So you get a really unique and amazing Sonoran Desert experience out here. I can also tell you from experience, you know, when I drive around Tucson, the Tucson area is where I really think of lush saguaro cacti forests, and probably by no coincidence, Saguaro National Park. is in that area, but you just see thousands of them, tens of thousands of them spread out across the landscape in some places. When you get a good overlook, you really can notice it. This rivals that, I would say, when it comes to saguaro and some of the sections of how thick they are. But what I would say is if Tucson's more convenient for you and saguaro is what you want, probably don't need to go further south than Tucson. But if you want a mix of everything, organ pipe. Problem is, this is very far south in Arizona and there's really not much else other than this. So it is a time commitment for some, and probably understandably why many may not ever make it out here. So why I'm happy to bring it to your living rooms. All right, so I guess impromptu change of plans. I mean, this is meant for this to be kind of a casual thing anyway. We're about at the spot where they talk about the next thing, which are toads that come out after it rains. And I really don't have anything to show you other than basically it's a short paragraph. So what I'm finding is it's really not, I don't think this is the best way to do this video anyway. All great information and highly recommend you get this and read it. You can download a PDF. I think I'm just gonna throw this out though. And when I find subject matter that, like that organ pipe, I will read and narrate from that as I had been doing, but unfortunately, yeah, this is just not the educational foray into organ pipe that I was hoping. I decided to stop at this picnic area. It is one of the official stops on the tour. Diablo Wash, which is right over here, is the spot. And there is something of interest, as well as a good collection of, on the other side of those southern facing organ pipe cacti all over that slope. The best example I have of that so far today. And the interest here is, other than the amazing views, is this was the location of a Hohokam seasonal settlement hundreds of years ago. The natives that lived in this area would come up here on the wash in the summer months to do their thing. And I wonder what they thought of these views. To be honest, to them, they were born into it, they died into it. This is all they knew. So I imagine it's beautiful, but I imagine to them if it was just another thing. Overall though, I'm not here to eat lunch. I'm here to continue the route. Looks like the road climbs up along the edge of these mountains, and from there I don't know where it goes. It doesn't appear to go this way. So it's either going to, I'm wondering if we're gonna turn and then start heading back that direction now. Well, I think the next stop should be easy to find also, as I believe there's a picnic area there too. So we are at, according to this, we are at 5.5 miles in. My odometer reads 5.8. And then we're heading to the 6 mile mark, so just 0.2 miles ahead, where we should get some good views of the terrain and kind of orient ourselves as to where Mexico is and all this other cool stuff. So why don't we continue? All right. I would say this part of the drive is starting to become the most scenic, so I'm okay if we see the next bits from the vehicle. Give me a break because it's getting hot out there already. It's chilly and now it's hot and I'm thirsty. I need to get some water. Whoa. There's some bumpiness for you. Washboards and then pavement. nice. There's a little bit of pavement here in certain spots. Wow, the road. Actually, we're going this way. I couldn't really see the road from back there. I was wrong, but look at these organ pipe here. On a southern-ish facing slope. You can see there's a bunch of them up there, off to the right, and then off to our left also, which I don't think you guys can see very well looking out that direction. But oh yeah, we're getting some fantastic views from up here, so I do look forward to our next spot, which I would anticipate is any time now. I see something here that maybe this is the spot. It was listed as some kind of a picnic area. Ah, there's a picnic table. There's just no shade here, so but you do get the view. You get a way better view up here. I'm excited to show you this actually. Ah, now this is a view. This is a view. Best view of the day so far. And I know what some of the landmarks are on the horizon, and I can help orient us. So the first part of your orientation is that little white thing down there. That's where I just was, and we were overlooking this wash, and we were taking pictures of this southern facing slope, and I was showing you all of the organ pipe that cling to that hillside, which now you understand why. And down there, might be hard to see, is just a sea of saguaro and probably some organ pipe mixed in, and then Diablo Wash is gonna head out that way. Out there on the horizon, if I'm correct, that protuberance there with two peaks on top of it, that is Twin Peaks, and that's where the name Twin Peaks Campground got its name. We're from that right there. And then if we face south, those are the, I think the Kukabi? No, I'm not remembering. I left the thing in the car. I want to say the Kukabi Mountains, and Amy can put a correction up on the screen, but Sonoran, Mexico. You're basically looking at Mexico there when you see that mountain range. The border is in between us and that. And I've seen some border wall from certain spots on our journey today, but I don't see any from up here unless my eyes are not picking it up. But basically you're looking at Mexico, and there's where the visitor center is approximately in that region where we started today, as well as the Twin Peaks campground, which is not where I stayed on this trip, but on a previous trip. And we actually have a video for that from our back catalog going way back, one of our earlier videos if you want to get to know that campground. There's another fantastic example of the organ pipe clinging to hillsides right there. When we drove up, you saw some of those, but now you know they like to be up high on them slopes and not down low. So kind of a good vantage point to think about what the brochure told us in the beginning, that the Sonoran Desert's actually really young. I didn't even know that, about 10,000 years old in its current state. And basically what you're seeing are the tropics coming from South Mexico, South America. The animals, the plants, probably through wetter times, were able to extend north up here and then specialize to live in a arid environment that has the two really rainy seasons, which once again is what makes our desert different than a lot of the others, is we do have a lot of rain and we do have a lot of green at the right time of the year. And it really beckons back to, yeah, this is kind of a tropical place and everything bites and stings, and that seems tropical to me. So the Sonoran Desert. I think what I'm gonna do now is make a beeline for where there's a trailhead. I'm not gonna hike it today, but there's an arch somewhere out this way. Is probably not the best arch. Arizona arches are not Utah arches, usually. Although we have some beautiful ones that are competitors, but usually they're just brown, small, not very impressive to me. But we're gonna do a little bit of driving and then we will see what's worth seeing. I think we're only 6 miles into this journey, so not quite a third of the way done yet, but I do want to make some distance here because I do have other videos to be making today as usual, or one other video, but we got plenty of time. Now, I think one of our stops is this rock formation up here, and you can kind of see different layers to it. If it's the picture that I saw or the drawing, they're pointing out there's various, I think rhyolite was one of the things, which is basically volcanic ash solidified in the rock, and other layers of geologic time. And I think you can kind of see it right there in that rock, the different coloration. If that's the rock in the brochure, well, there's one of your stops right there. We just did it from the car. And there's one about the prickly pear cactus, which I have not seen any that I can think of. I'm sure I have. I'm sure I walked right by them, but they're so common you don't really think about them often. But anyway, we're climbing up here, up and away into the mountains, and it just gets more mountainy the further back we go, and beautiful. There's a lot of brittle bush lining the road up here too. It's like the yellow brick road. It's here for us. It's highlighting the way, saying, come this way. Enjoy spring in the Sonoran Desert, the orange ocotillo. Orange-topped ocotillo, I should say. And the yellow brittle bush. And the green cholla, the green-yellow cholla, and all of our succulent friends out there. You're really getting good looks too, by the way, of the organ pipe up here and where they like to live. Here's a nice little view maybe to check out. I don't know if this is one of our official stops, but I'm gonna make it a stop because it's very pretty up here and I wanna get a look at the surroundings. The road seems to be now making its way on the back side of the first set of mountains we came upon, but the mountains just get larger the further back you go. And now you have that endless landscape and all of the cacti, and I would say this might rank up as one of the best views of the day, along with the one we just did a little ways back there. But I kind of like this one for all the different elevations and the foothills in front of some of the mountains. Seems photogenic at first glance. Alright, so for here to make some time up, we are currently 7.3 miles in. I'd say based on their book, we're 7.1 or so. So not even quite halfway done yet. And looking at some of the upcoming stops, there's interesting things to read through and recommend you pull down that PDF and do that. But from here, I think it's really just about the views and enjoying this from the car. And I'm almost thinking, why don't I just zip her up for a few and we'll just roll the camera on top here and we'll enjoy some of these springtime Sonoran Desert views with some nice music layered on top of it. Amy, roll it. And here I was just a few minutes down the road totally dissing Arizona arches. And then I see that. I knew there was an arch here. In fact, I might see two arches, one on top of the other. There's a really small portion on top of the big one. That is a sizable arch. That would rival something like you would see in Utah, I would say. Maybe not as red in coloration, although slightly. But that is one beautiful arch. In fact, this whole area back here is aglow in yellow. You see what I assume is brittle bush going up that hillside towards the arch. This is an amazing view. I did not expect this. I did not plan or read much about that arch, but wow, what a photo op. And honestly, just when you didn't think it could get any more spectacular, this drive has surprises around every corner. And this whole area back here, I think we're going to be driving maybe deep into a canyon, hopefully. That'll be cool, but wow. So now that I saw the arch and I saw the views that we saw looking into Mexico and being back here, I might have to say, at least so far in my experience to date, this Ajo Mountain Drive is the thing to do here in Oregon Pipe. I would say I'm enjoying this more than any of my previous stuff that I've done in here, hikes included. Okay, this is a good little spot to get pictures of that, but there is a picnic area and trailhead for that arch. I guess I'm confused now that I'm here seeing it. That is way up into the mountains. I thought it was going to be down lower, so I guess I'm kind of confused what the point of a trail is, because I don't think it climbs all the way up there, but that's what we're here to do, is find out, I guess. So if I see something interesting, I may stop, but I'm failing to see how you're going to get a much better view of the arch, or the two arches. I don't know if you saw that little really thin arch on top, or what appears to be a thin arch. It's like a double arch. Anyway, that's the arch. I kind of see now. I think the trail is going to take you closer to it, but I think you're just going to be at the base of it looking up at it. So something I would do if I had more time, but we're just going to continue on. And I think we got the view to get in the photo op to get back there with the foreground. Hopefully it came out okay. By arch, quite an impressive arch though, I will give it that. Far exceeded anything I thought I was going to see. I'm pretty confident now we are driving, let's see, we're driving due south, so we're heading towards Mexico now. And we are, let's see where we're at. We're about 10 miles, a little short of 10 miles in on our journey. So we're approaching the halfway point. I think the second half is going to go faster as we come out and we start heading back towards 85 too, just because I can't imagine the views are going to be as good coming in, but I've been saying things all day and been wrong, so I'll probably be wrong again. Wow, just enjoying the tall cliffs as you are too, hopefully. Organ pipe mixed in here too, a little bit of everything. I guess one organ pipe. You see how finicky they are? They really are that finicky. They really like those very specific spots. And now we know why. You'd think you'd see them all over the place, but you'll see them in droves and then you'll see none for a while, and then you'll see them again, and then you'll see occasional ones like you see here, but the view's about to open up here, by the way. It's going to be pretty. And as you saw too, I mean, I can comment on the road and the road conditions now that we're over halfway through. I mean, as you see, big sections of these, especially in the hilly sections, are paved. Here's another picnic area, by the way. Lots of little picnic areas. I think that's the third one. And I think there are restrooms at this one also. And lots of interpretive signs and good views. So I'm gonna keep going because there's people there. And I want to avoid people. All right, I think this is the time where we're just gonna roll it on top. I'm gonna do that again. Amy's gonna play some nice music as we enjoy the drive out of here. Because I think we've probably seen and stopped at the major points of interest that I wanted to talk about, the cacti especially, and I think the views are gonna, I hate to say it, you know, as we head out towards 85, I don't see how they could be as dramatic as this back here, but we'll continue to find out. So, all right, enough said. Let's get some mileage under our belts again and we'll talk up the road. Well, folks, there you have it, a little bit of Sonoran Desert education and some views to boot on the Ajo Mountain Scenic Drive at Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument. One off the list, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it inspires you to come down here and check it out for yourself. And we'll, of course, be back next week with another video, so check in then. See you next time.